Hey there, my name is Sage and you are watching D&D Daily. Today, I'm doing a character build, the Way of the Naga. In order to play the Naga monk, you are unsurprisingly going to pick the Naga race, and the subclass you're going to pick for your monk is the Way of the Four Elements. Most people hate the Way of the Four Elements, for good reason. And I think what it really comes down to is that the core playstyle, it doesn't change from a base monk at all, because the key cost is so expensive for the Way of Four Elements that it really doesn't do anything for your playstyle. Now, instead of leaning away from this, I wanted to lean into it. The whole problem with the Way of the Four Elements is that they don't have a core playstyle. So I want to find our core playstyle elsewhere and use the Way of the Four Elements like a utility belt that every now and again will reach into that utility belt to pull out something to use for that situation. But more often than not, we're not relying on the Way of Four Elements at all. So without further ado, let's jump into the build. In combat, we are a duelist who focuses on isolating one enemy. How we accomplish this goal comes from our race, the Naga. The Naga is normally broken as hell, and I wouldn't play it with any other subclass besides a really terrible subclass. So that's why I'm doing it in this case. The Naga comes from Planeshift Amonkhet, which if you don't know is untested, illegal D&D play. However, it is in a written book, so you'll have to ask your DM if they will allow it. I would bleed with the argument that I'm playing a Four Elements monk. Let me play whatever I want. I need as much strength as I can get. Now, with all of that out of the way, why is the Naga so broken? Well, here's why. They have an unarmed attack called Constrict. Constrict is like you would attack like any other monk would, but when you hit, it automatically grapples and automatically restrains and then gives them an escape DC. Now, the escape DC is based off of our strength, so they will escape often, but all you have to do is hit your opportunity attack and they're captured again, and they have to use their action to break out. So you're completely destroying their action economy. You're making it so you have advantage on all attacks against them, they have disadvantage on all attacks against you, and all you have to do to set this up is hit them with a single attack. It's insane. And you also come with a second unarmed attack, which is your bite. It's far worse than Constrict. What it's going to happen is if you have someone already constricted, now you can bite them. Once you bite them, there's a small chance that they're going to take a little bit of poison damage on top of your normal damage. What we're really going to want to do is pick an enemy who's kind of on the outskirts. We want to hit them and drag them in the center of our teammates so that we can gang up on them while they're separated from their allies. We are incredibly efficient at doing this. Now that we have a core game plan, we can move into our utility belt of things we can do from our subclass for the moments that they're meant for. My first choice when it comes to our elemental disciplines at level 3 is going to be Water Whip. Water Whip gives us a 30-foot ranged attack, so it solves our ranged attack issue. It also has a chance to pull them 25 feet towards us, which further compounds our playstyle of isolating an enemy among our allies away from theirs. At level 6, I would grab Clench of the North Wind to get access to Hold Person. I would use this rarely because the low DC will make it incredibly unreliable. The thing is, our other options at this level just aren't very good, and you never know when someone's going to get that low roll and you'll get that clutch paralysis when you have nothing else you can do. At level 11, I would drop Clench of the North Wind to grab Flames of the Phoenix, which gives us access to Fireball. This gives us an option against mobs. We're normally a single attack damage dealer. Now we have something to do against a lot of enemies. Now a lot of those little enemies are going to save, but at least we'll still be doing damage even when they do, and because so many of them are rolling, some of them are inevitably going to fail. AoE as a rule is a little bit better for low saving throws than single target abilities are. At level 11, I would also pick up Ride the Wind, which gives us Fly. Our low spell save DC does not matter when it comes to Fly, and Fly will always come in use in every single campaign, period. Prove me wrong. If you get to level 17 for whatever reason, I would pick up Wave of Rolling Earth for Wall of Stone. Just a really great spell, again, not relying so much on our spell save DC. Because we auto-grapple and auto-restrain with our hits, we're not going to be using Stunning Strike nearly as much as our monk counterparts. This means that we are going to be saving all of our key points for our utility belt options. We can use it to increase our speed through Step of the Wind. We can use it to increase our defense through Patient Defense. We can use it to grab enemies from afar, have ranged attacks with our Water Whip. We can use it for AoE damage with Phoenix Fire. We can use it for extra mobility with our Fly, and so on and so on. Instead of having a normal monk core game plan revolving around our key points, it's our utility belt for specific situations. Out of combat, we make for excellent lookouts and scouts. We're not bad at sneaking either when it comes down to it. Something to keep in mind is we have really high mobility. Nagas, as a bonus action, can increase their movement by 5 feet, which isn't much, but with our already increased monk movement speed, it does add up. Our key mechanic is, like all monks, Dex, we're looking for that Dex, Constitution, and Wisdom as the most important. Focus on getting those as high as possible before taking your feats. And a lot of monks would want to pick up Mobile. This monk does not, because you're not running in and escaping enemies, you're running in and taking one of those enemies and dragging them with you. So Mobile isn't going to be near as useful as it is for most monks. Part of being the Naga is that we are both immune to poison damage as well as the poison condition, and we also get proficiency in the Poisoner's Kit. Now that's not something we're going to be using as a monk very often, but keep that in mind when it comes to your downtime play and some extra utility that you have. Moving into the weaknesses of the Naga monk, if we have an enemy who is huge or bigger, they're immune to our grapples unless we have someone who casts Enlarge on us or something along those lines. So they completely nullify our playstyle. They're our biggest weakness. Other weaknesses include mobs of enemies, especially before level 11, before we get our Fireball to interact with those encounters. We are also hot garbage in social situations as well as long-ranged combat. Our only option really is Water Whip and maybe Fireball or Fly to get in there. As an NPC, I would use the Naga Monk as a combat encounter, probably along with other Nagas. We didn't really add much to the personality that changed it from just a normal Naga. So other than combat style, it's not going to play any different than you would just have Nagas in your campaign as it stands. The key note of this build is really trying to make the Way of the Four Elemental monk not feel terrible. Trying to make it feel like a build that you could play and enjoy and have fun with. How would you use the Way of the Naga monk in one of your campaigns? What would you do to make them way cooler? Let me know in the comments down below. We are D&D Daily. We release new D&D content every single day, so if that is interesting to you, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you tomorrow.